Builds and all. Hello, welcome back to Mr. Bob's Build. Before I show more pictures of the finished model, I thought I'd have a quick gallop through the build process. However, if you don't fancy listening to me droning on and on, just fast forward and skip to the end. Nice box. Decent parts, needs a bit of clean up, and some of the small parts are really quite fragile. It's quite a soft plastic. Clear instructions, and a nice sheet showing the finished model. Very fine and delicate Photoetch from white enzyme models. I didn't know where half the bits went, but that didn't matter because half the bits weren't used. This was my first go with Photoetch, and I must admit that halfway through the build I felt like abandoning it. Straightforward build, that is, until we got to the Photoetch, which was my first effort, and it was all a bit daunting. None of the bits went on straight, all of it's twisted in some way, but it does look good, albeit a tad ham-fisted. Some of the delicate parts in my less than delicate fingers got broke and had to be replaced with bits of brass. Some bits of Photoetch are stupid small. That tiny bit at the end of the pointer needs 3 separate folds. Anyway, the build progressed at a somewhat slow pace, albeit, until we reached the happy state of being able to slap some paint on it. Here we are primed, and here was the box art Mountbatten pink and blue camouflage scheme, painted with a mix of Tamiya acrylics. I'll pause here for a confession. I usually start out on a build with a very clear idea about how I want it to look at the end. But when I got to this stage, I realised that I'd made a mistake. And that was that in my naivety, I thought I'd build a model and then paint it. But the model is so small, I just can't get in and paint the detail parts as I wanted to. But lesson learned. And after sulking for a couple of weeks, I thought, well, I might as well finish it off anyway. And here it is weathered. I used reference photographs I found on the good old internet. I wanted to depict it weather beaten, but not bashed about too much. Perhaps you'll note the rear mast and the rudder have both been snapped off. Mental note to self. Leave small sticky out bits to the end for goodness sake. And that gets us back to where we started. I thought I'd have a go at rigging this boat with stretched sprue. 2 more firsts to go along with building a ship in the first place and using Photoetch. Our good friend from the International Scale Modeler Forum, Franz, or Flying Dutchman, has done an excellent little video on how to stretch sprue. Highly recommended, and a link is in the notes. While, as I hope you'll agree, the effort is extremely worthwhile, for the first timer at least, it's an immensely frustrating process. I share a modelling space with Mrs. Bob, and she had to leave the room because the air was turning blue. I was literally shouting and screaming at the model. And then, having got it all in place and looking good, I thought I'd try the trick of warming it up with a hairdryer to make it stretch tight. I was gobsmacked about how well it worked, but I left the hairdryer on too long and half the stretched sprue melted, so I had to replace half of it. A few more shouting and screaming. I then learnt another valuable lesson. Having stretched some more sprue, placed it on the model nicely, given it a very careful tightening with a hairdryer, I noticed that it's a different colour. The thought that stretching a dark grey sprue as opposed to a light grey sprue already used would be quite so visible on the end model, especially in these photographs, that just never occurred to me. And now another confession. This is the last, I promise. Looking at these photographs while gabbling away for YouTube, I've noticed that I haven't put the transfers on. That's good old-fashioned English for decal, by the way. There's a tiny nameplate that should go on the rear superstructure. I'm not too bothered about that. But what I am bothered about are the stonking great ship numbers that should go on the front of the hull. They're going to need careful laying down to avoid silvering and then weathering over. I'll do it, but not for a while. So it's not been without problems, but I am very pleased with the way this has turned out. It looks great on the shelf, as long as you don't look too closely. Now, before we say goodbye, here's some more photographs. Well done for staying with me for this long, but I'm sure you'll be pleased to know that's it for now. My next build is going to be something far simpler. I know what it is, and I'll do a review soon. So goodbye for now, thank you for watching, come back soon. Pinga, 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 pinga.